After a pretty up and down first week of the season for the Chicago Bulls, in which you had an impressive opening win against the Miami Heat, followed by a disappointing loss against the Washington Wizards, but the Bulls really had a buzzer beater taken away from them that should have been called a closeout foul for DeMar to have 3 free throws. Ridiculous, but we won't harp on that right now. To then getting absolutely annihilated in their home opener against the Cavs. Well, it's not going to get any easier this week with the Bulls having 4 games in a span of 6 days. NBA really screwing us with the schedule, especially after just playing a back-to-back. But that's what we'll be covering in this Bulls weekly preview video, going over each game, things to be looking out for, and keys to winning each of them. So what's going on, everyone? You're listening to Bulls Central here. Hope you're all doing well. In case you missed it, guys, I started a new NBA channel called And1 Hoops, so if you like the content here but also interested in seeing more general NBA content at large, then feel free to check it out. I'll leave a link to it in the description. Gonna see if I can try to make this YouTube thing full-time, so it would mean a great deal to me if you would check out the channel. Let me know what you think. But anyway, let's get back into the topic. So the Bulls kick off their week with a game tonight against the Boston Celtics at the United Center. They're off on Tuesday, then they'll face off against the Indiana Pacers, also at home, and they'll travel to go play the Spurs in San Antonio on Friday, and then it's right back to the United Center and another back-to-back Friday and Saturday night, this time taking on the Philadelphia 76ers. So let's start with the game tonight against the Celtics. Never easy when you're going up against one of the best teams in the East that is star-studded, and a team that is great on both ends of the floor when you have a first-team All-NBA player in Jason Tatum and a Defensive Player of the Year winner in Marcus Smart. They're a high IQ team. They're quick in transition. They play great team basketball, and so far this season, all the drama with Ime Udoka being suspended for the year hasn't seemed to have impacted them all that much, as they're off to an early 3-0 start, and doing this without their starting center, Robert Williams. Jason Tatum has been playing out of his mind, putting up 35 points per game and over 8 rebounds, but also playing very well on defense. Jaylen Brown still playing true to form, and it doesn't seem like all the trade rumors surrounding him being packaged in a deal for Kevin Durant has really impacted him. And I still can't get over how great of a pickup Derek White has been for them after they picked him up at the trade deadline last season. Now for the Bulls in this one, I mean, normally in this instance, as I said a lot last year, you would have Patrick Williams playing on their best player on defense, especially when it's a bigger forward, like in this case, Jason Tatum. But after what we have seen from Pat so far this year, and if you caught my last 2 post-game videos, I really think Patrick should be coming off the bench. I think this is a case where you start a guy like Javonte Green or even Alex Caruso to give you some energy and strong defense, guarding one of the best players in the league. Not saying that they're going to be able to shut Tatum down, that's really hard to do, but more so in the level of effort that we have been seeing from Patrick so far this year. And we all know DeMar isn't the best defender either if you put him on Tatum, although I say that, and DeMar is actually already off to averaging near 2 steals per game so far this season. Again, small sample size, only been 3 games thus far. So anyway, that's the first thing. How do you ensure that you lock up Jason Tatum so that he doesn't go for 40 against you? The other piece is the Bulls have to play better with ball movement. This is a Celtics team that likes to get out in a hurry, that will make the quick extra pass to the guy under the basket. The Bulls have to match that level of passing and pace to throw off their defense, playing team basketball rather than just a stagnant offensive guys watching the ball handler just move to the basket. They need to be cutting to the hoop, moving without the ball on the perimeter, working in the pick and roll. It still boggles my mind that this team doesn't run more pick and rolls when you have 2 centers like Vucevic and Drummond. Like, how are we not running more plays through these guys when you need an easy bucket? Instead, you have guys doing step-back threes with a man in their face. Now, aside from the obvious ones of Zach Lavine, DeMar DeRozan, I need to see a big game from Vucevic in this one. Given the Celtics are without their starting center and Horford is off to a slow start in the season, he actually might be out as well. Celtics have been having to play small ball with their current active roster. In fact, Horford, like I said, missed the last game, so his status is still up in the air. If Vucevic is going to be up against the likes of Noah Vonleh and Luke Cornett at center, there is no excuse but for him to having anything less but a monster game, both in scoring and crashing the boards. And to be honest, the coaching staff and the team need to be focused on that as well. Lavine and DeMar, they can sacrifice some of their touches and shot attempts and taking advantage of the mismatch they have down low with Vucevic. Like, if Billy Donovan continues to have these guys running plays that aren't surrounding Vuce, or he's having Vuce settle for outside shots, then he's not doing his job. Recognize the mismatch and utilize it to your advantage. And then, I feel I don't even need to say it at this point, but we need a big game from Patrick Williams. No more standing around and watching on offense, being aggressive and getting to the basket, crashing the glass. Again, the Celtics have some of their bigs out. This is an opportunity for Patrick to have a big game. And then the same goes for Ayo and needing him to be that floor general like we saw in Miami and facilitating with these guys. Then the Bulls have the Pacers on Wednesday. Hopefully this will be an easy game considering the Pacers are one of those teams in the tank for Wemby sweepstakes. But you never know with this Bulls team. Watch them be the opposite of last year and beat all the good teams but get rocked by all the bottom feeders of the league. But anyway, for the Pacers, this actually could prove to be more of a matchup challenge for the Bulls. Tyrese Halliburton is off to a great start to his season. That's going to be a tough assignment for Ayo. Buddy Hield, say what you will about him, but he's a good outside shooter, and Zach has never really been the best at the point of attack defense, which Hield specializes in with his transition threes. Now, at the time of this recording, Miles Turner is out of the lineup after suffering an ankle sprain right before the start of the season, but he could be back by the time this game rolls around. Let's hope he isn't, because Vooch historically hasn't played well against Turner, who is an elite shot blocker. But look, matchups aside, because it really shouldn't be that much of a challenge when you compare the talent level of the Bulls to the Pacers. Bulls have to win this game. This isn't a good team. This is a team that they're not trying to be good either. No excuses. Get the W and move on to the next one, which is against the Spurs on Friday. And this is another case where you're playing a team that is rebuilding, not trying to win. They've got some good young players, but they're not as talented as the Bulls are, on paper anyway. Keldon Johnson, Devin Vassell are really great. They have very bright futures, but they're not as talented and experienced as guys like DeMar DeRozan and Zach Lavine. Jakob Poeltl could be a bit of a challenge for Vucevic, as I feel the last couple of seasons, Poeltl has really limited Vooch on offense when it comes to scoring in the paint and cleaning the glass. I still think Poeltl is one of the most underrated players in the NBA. I'm actually shocked he hasn't been moved, given he doesn't really fit the overall timeline for the Spurs. But either way, I feel like Poeltl has always been a problem for the Bulls. The Spurs are also a decent three-point shooting team, so another instance where the Bulls cannot get complacent with their perimeter defense and just think that they can out-talent the Spurs if you're going to let them get whatever they want from deep. Keep in mind, the Bulls, as of right now, on the very small sample size of just 3 games, are dead last in the NBA in terms of opponents' three-point percentage. Didn't help when they let the Cavs torch them from 3 the other night and go 60% from behind the arc, but you get the point. Any team that is above average shooting from 3 can beat the Bulls if they continue to fall asleep on the perimeter. Then finally, the Bulls close out the week on Saturday at another traveling back-to-back against the 76ers, which I know people will say the Sixers are struggling. They're off to an 0-3 start, but don't forget, Joel Embiid has historically manhandled the Bulls for the last 5 or 6 seasons. Embiid is undefeated against the Bulls in his entire career. And sure, the Sixers might not be as good as they appear on paper. They're going to be one of the best teams in the Eastern Conference with superstar level players in Joel Embiid and James Harden. I know Harden probably isn't a superstar level player anymore, and I personally can't stand his game, but either way, he's still a star level player that you cannot let him heat up. And for the Bulls, Ayo was actually decent last season as a rookie playing against James Harden, certainly not as good as Lonzo, and I do expect Caruso to get considerable playing time in this one, who will be assigned to guarding Harden on most possessions, as Caruso is really the Bulls' best defender at this point, and you need someone who is scrappy and physical and will get under Harden's skin, as we have seen him struggle in the past going against guards who are pests on the defensive end. For Joel Embiid, he's one of those players like Giannis or Kevin Durant, where you can do your absolute best to limit them on offense, but they're still going to dominate and get their 25, 30, 35 plus points. Yes, you have Vucevic, who is a big body that can at least deter Embiid to an extent, but he's no match for him from a defensive perspective, handling Embiid in the post. And then on offense, Embiid is also one of the best rim protectors and defenders in the league, and you really have to have great footwork, up and under moves to really be able to have a solid night on offense against him. This will probably be an instance where we'll actually have to rely on Vucevic taking more outside shots if he can actually hit them. And look, I've only been talking about Embiid and Harden thus far. Let's not forget the Sixers still have Tobias Harris, although he struggled a little so far this season. They also have Tyrese Maxey, a guy who just continues to get better and better, a guy I'm sure a lot of Bulls fans wish we would have used to select him in the 2020 draft over Patrick Williams. Even though Maxey was taken 21st overall, there was no way that he was ever projected to go that high. But anyway, this is a game in which you need to see big nights on offense from Zach Lavine and DeMar DeRozan, where the Sixers aren't as strong on defense in the backcourt, and we also need to see a strong showing from the bench, as the Bulls have more depth on their bench than the Sixers do. You need a strong game from guys like Coby White, Caruso, Drummond. One of the advantages the Bulls have this season is depth. A strong bench, especially when Lonzo comes back, when they're going up against teams who have a star-studded starting lineup but very weak second units. You have to take advantage of those scenarios where you get that bench mob as a spark and energy to catapult the team back into the game. As far as my predictions for this week, probably a pretty basic prediction, but I've got the Bulls going 2-2, beating the Pacers and the Spurs, because really those games are the ones that they have to win, and then losing to the Sixers and the Celtics. I want to say that the Bulls will win one of those 2 games against Boston or Philly, but if I was a betting man, yeah, I'm not taking the Bulls, especially based on what we saw in their performance against the Cavs. But let me know what your guys' predictions are for this week. Which games do you see the Bulls winning? Let me know in the comments, and as always, be sure to subscribe if you're a Bulls fan, as I do post daily Bulls content. Thanks again for tuning in, guys, and I'll catch you in the next one.